go. Let's start on the session. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Francis Mayebe. Welcome to Africa Sports Consultancy Thursday live show. Today we're having a conversation with Chad Fortune, one of the finest South African cricket players, and he is joining us today, and we're very honored. And it's a privilege for us to have you in here, Chad. Welcome, and how are you doing?
Man, thanks. It's an honor. It's all mine, to be honest. Thank you for having me. I'm all right. I'm happy. My exams are done. So we all know that feeling as a student. So I'm good. I'm good.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. And how is the COVID-19 lockdown 4 treating you? I mean, as a student, it must be quite difficult to be uncertain with regards to, academics, and you don't know about the changes in COVID-19 regulations and all that. How have you been coping with that?
Look, I only believe that life is going to throw you curveballs. And this is one of the major curveballs getting thrown to many people. So for me, I just felt that the quicker I adapt, the quicker I'm going to move through any of the obstacles my way. And that's pretty much how I've approached it. Anything that was thrown my way in terms of whichever level we went to. There's so many levels now. We level 3 ESCOM, level 3 lockdown, level 4. You just take it as it comes and carry on. So I haven't let it get the better of me, if I can put it that way. If anything, it's actually helped me to stay focused, because you are confined to a space, obviously depending on the level that you're at, but you're confined to your space, and that allows you to be focused on your academics. And obviously with sport not happening as well, it's helped, as much as I'd like the balance of being able to play sport and then go to my academics. It is my final year, so in your final year you'd like to make the best out of it, because you're walking into the professional field the year after, so you have to make sure you leave on a high. So in terms of that, yeah, I think I've been. It hasn't hit me that much. So you put it that way.
Definitely, that's great to hear. I'm glad that you touched on the sporting aspect of saying to be able to balance between sport and academics is something that can be very difficult, and lockdown, I think, has made it much not easier, but maybe a bit easier for the sportsmen to be able to focus mainly on the academics, as you're also doing final year. Yeah. So onto the sporting side, of which is the main thing that we are sitting here tonight. So tell us about your cricket. What motivated you to start cricket, and at what age did you start cricket, and what was the main drive for you to
actually? Okay, growing up in a colored community, in the area I grew up in, we were introduced to sport. You don't really have much luxuries at home to do a lot of things, the latest gadgets or whatever. So sport was the next best thing. And we played a lot of cricket in the road as kids with my cousin and my uncle, and we all used to get involved. We started playing indoor cricket, and this was all at the young age, the age of 10, 8, 9, and I think I started playing at under 12 level for my my local cricket club. And from there, I got spotted to play for the under 13 province side. And from there, I then got spotted to get a bursary to go to Wynberg Boys. So yeah, it started at a very, very young age, in the street, as I would say, the putt cricket. People don't play putt cricket anymore because apparently it's dangerous in the roads these days. But yeah, so that's where it started. Some people will call it backyard cricket.
Definitely.
That's where it started. Yeah.
Definitely, that's very exciting to hear. That's very exciting to hear. So yeah, as you say, you started playing cricket, in the streets. And I also started playing cricket in the road with a few friends, and that's how I started my cricket as well. Yeah, but my
Yeah.
particular question is, what drove you to actually, discover a talent in becoming a fast-paced bowler? I mean, when I started playing cricket, I just used to throw things, and someone said, "I think you can bowl spin," and then I started bowling spin. So, for you particularly, what drove you to actually go into bowling pace, rather than bowling spin or any other things that you could have gone into?
I think because spinners always got hit for six. um, no, at the time when I was at that age, it was the era of Alan Donald, and he was an icon, in South African cricket after readmission. And I wanted to be like him, white lightning. I used to put the face paint, the sunblock on, and I just aspired to bowl as quick as him, or because it's exciting, people go watch when a bowler's bowling well, people want to watch it as much as a batter's bowling well. But when a bowler's bowling well, he rips the team apart and he wins the game. A batter can can bat well, but the team will still lose. If a bowler bowls well and rips through a team, they win the game 99% of the time. And I just loved bowling fast, doing things quickly, I guess. I think that's what drove me to it. And from a young age, luckily, I had good coaches that could identify that and nurtured it into what essentially afforded me opportunities to represent my province and in South Africa at under 19 level, and then eventually move on to franchise cricket. So yeah, pause bowling, it's fun. It
Yeah,
was fun.
awesome. And one of the things that really stood out for us when I was having a conversation with Goodwin Mamio, was the close relationship that you had with Jack Cullis, as you were coming up as a cricketer. So would you like to tell us about that, on how on the roles that he played and how important the role that he played when it comes to your sporting
I don't
and
even.
of course the
I'll,
inspiration
I'll
behind it.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think there's enough words to describe the impact he played on my life. In terms of not just sport, in terms of everything. So what happened was at the under 13 Standard Bank week. Pardon. Gary Kirsten and Eric Simons were one of the scouts, and Jacques Cullis had just launched his bursary, the Jacques Cullis Foundation. And I will never forget it because they scouted me at that week. And a week before high school started for me, I was initially going to Fairbairn College, which is here in Goodwood. They called my mom and they said that they are offering me a bursary to come further my schooling at Wynberg Boys High School, and in return, obviously, I play cricket for them. And I then got onto the Jacques Cullis bursary, and the amounts of the opportunities and the things I saw, unbelievable. The first time I stayed in a hotel, and it wasn't any hotel, it was the Table Bay Hotel at the waterfront. I got exposed to being in suites, with ex or ex and current South African players at the time. I mean, I was 13, 14 years old. We got given the best kit. I got given Adidas shoes, Adidas boots, Adidas tracksuits. I got given Slazenger cricket gear. My schooling was paid for. I didn't have to worry about anything. So he laid the foundation, literally laid the foundation for my sporting career. It was, yes, yeah. I owe a lot to him, and I am obviously planning, once I start going into my professional field, once I'm done studying, to give back in his foundation as well. So I'm doing it an injustice by speaking about it. It's amazing. And I was the first recipient of the bursary. I mean, I'm remembering, like, while I'm speaking about it now, I'm just thinking back on a six-a-side tournament I played with AB de Villiers and Mark Boucher and Paul Adams and Merrick Pringle and Alan Dawson. You know, Wasim Akram was there. You know, you as a young boy, you got to mix with your idols because of the bursary, you know,
Mm.
and not to mention Jacques Callis himself. You know, he would come down to nets, he would help you with things, you know, you would, yeah, it's just immense help, immense help.
No, absolutely fantastic. You know, as you're speaking right now, I can also, you know, feeling a bit of goosebumps because I can actually resonate a lot with what you're speaking about.
Yeah.
As myself, I also was a recipient of a very good scholarship that took me
Mm.
to, you know, a private school that offered me all
Mm.
those facilities and
Yeah.
things that I needed for my cricketing. So
Yeah.
just
You know,
another follow. Yes, yes.
yeah, I just want to interject there. Speaking about facilities, I mean, the school's facilities was, if I look back, you know, you take it for granted. Um, Turf nets, you've got the best coaches at your disposal. I mean, literally a 24/7 coaching service. I mean, I think the Weinberg loved cricket so much. I would be able to bunk class. I hope none of them are listening. I would be able to bunk class and go train, you know. But I mean, at the best facilities, you had everything at your disposal. And sometimes, like you say, you take it for granted when you come back home and I see how some of the kids that are, when I was that age, that are my age now, how they don't have that at their disposal, you know, those facilities. And I feel that that is a massive, massive, massive impact on the growth of a person and the speed at which they essentially get to break into, you know, your provincial setups and those things. It plays a massive, massive, massive role. So again, I can only be truly grateful, but I also hope that one day, you know, the playing fields will be leveled for everybody, that everybody will have access to such, you know, smart facilities, and that everybody will be able to, you know, just be on a level footing, if that's the best way I can put it, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. You know, as you touch up on the fast smart facilities and all that, you know, like as Africa Sports Consultancy, we are looking to provide services and things that are not really available to young athletes. Services like, you know, goal setting, services like, you know, financial literacy, and all those type of qualities that are needed to be successful, to be a successful athlete. It's not only what you do on the field,
No,
but also on the
100%.
outside. So
100%.
on your side, what would you say was an important aspect that you found when you moved from where you were to be exposed to all those great, you know, facilities and guidance, other than on the cricket field, in the sporting field? What was the outside influence that you say it also played a good impact, or had a very good influential impact in your sporting, but indirectly and not directly in the field?
Yeah, not directly sporting related. I would just say the environment you're in, you know. Uh, I believe firmly that if you are put in an environment long enough, no matter how poor you are at executing something, if you are in an environment long enough, you will eventually become what that environment is. And that's essentially what it was. So the environment I was in was an environment that would just nourish success. You know, you all you had to do as a person was bring your end of the bargain, which was either to do well in your academics or to do well in sport. Besides having the best coaches, everything else was taken care of. So being around like-minded people, which your influences, your friends. I wasn't the model student. I can tell you that from the onset. I'm not the model student. I was a rebel. I'm sure Gotti would have told you, and but that didn't take away my surroundings. You know, that didn't take away whenever I wanted to fall back onto something or a support system. I would have that in the facilities available to me, or the personnel that I was surrounded by, you know, in terms of my friends, my peers, the people I look for guidance, my family, my friends outside of school. All these things played a massive part in shaping who I was and who I am. Uh, yeah. So besides the sports field, I will narrow it down to environment. Um, being with the right people, you know, with like-minded people, people that will drive you, people that see your potential and actually know what you need to succeed, you know. And that was for me what helped me, because I had people will tell you who knows Eric Lefson as a coach at Wynberg Boys. He's one of the hardest man. He didn't care who you are. He would tell you like it is, but it's because he cared for you, and it's because he wanted the best for you, you know. And that that's only one person I can mention. I've had millions of people. I know that's an exaggeration, but I've had so many people around me that was able to do that for me, to just push me, help me in the right direction. And that is so important as a youngster, I think, as a young sportsman especially, where so many things can happen in a blink of an eye, where you need those people in your life to just hold you steady and to show you this is where you need to go. This is what's happening now, A, B, C, D. And that's what I had when I was at Wynberg Boys and you know, beyond.
And absolutely, no, absolutely. I like how you touch on environment, you know, because your environment shapes you to become a person that you can be. I mean, if you're whatever you're exposed to is actually fundamental to your progression, as not only as a sportsman, but you know, also in other areas of life. So just to drive away a bit from your young age in cricket and at Wynberg. Just to ask you a nice, interesting question. How was your first call up into the SA under 19? What was your feeling there, and what moments led up to that?
I actually won't forget it. I remember we did a 3-day camp or 4-day camp in Pretoria, which was like the shortlisted squad of players that was supposed to be in the SA under 19 side. And Oma Henry's son Riyad Henry, he was one of the other guys that was part of the squad. And after the 4 days, I came home, and I think I felt I did well and whatever. And they said they're gonna let us know in about 3 or 4 days time. And it was on the 4th day, and I hadn't heard anything, and I was so, you know, I was pretty gutted that I hadn't heard anything. And Riyad Henry actually called me, and he said to me, "Have you heard the news? Have you heard the news? You made the side. You made the side." And you know, as a 17-year-old kid, I was 17 at the time, and as a 17-year-old kid, you don't know what to believe, or you don't know how to react to these things, because you've set a goal for yourself, and you do it because someone else said you need to set a goal, but you don't even know what it is. And once it sunk in, you know, you actually SA under 19, you're representing your country at under 19 level, you've made the team, and then you think of things like, then the other thing came up, which was Ray Jennings was the coach at the time, a former Proteas men's coach. All these things just come boiling down onto you. And for me, what I think my mom was most proud, because she was a single mom that raised me as well. So for her, it was also pretty special. So we really enjoyed that moment, because, like you said, environment. I didn't grow up in the best environment, you know. And what I always think that somewhere in my life there was a decision I had to make, which either could have taken me down the wrong path or the one that put me on the path that I am today. And I have to be thankful for that. And that's why that moment, you know, it's like you just jump for joy. You don't know how to handle it, to be honest. Yeah, but I was really, really happy, really happy.
No, absolutely great to hear. You know, you touched on one you know, very important aspect of goals, you know, goal setting, that it was your goal and your goal came to reality, and in that moment you actually get to realize that this is something I dreamed about, and this is something that I wrote down somewhere, and it's actually come to life. And as Africa Sports Consultancy, that's what we have. Some of our products that are trying to enable people out there to be able to have a formalized system of setting goals. How important would you say goal setting was for you in achieving all the things that you have achieved in your sporting career and also in life in general?
Okay, the person I am, my personality and my character, I'm not somebody that writes things down per se, but once I've identified a goal in my mind, it essentially is what is the driving force behind everything that I do, you know. So it's just as important as writing things down, but I just don't do that. So my way of doing it is then visualizing it in my mind all the time. You know, everything I do, whether it's bowling a slower ball at training, or running, doing my fitness test, or doing whatever it is, I have it in my mind that the reason I'm doing this is so that I can achieve that end product. And therefore, goal setting in your sense and in my sense is so important, because it somehow gives you tunnel vision to actually block out noise and take on what you've set to take on. You know, because life, we all know, life throws you curveballs. It throws you out. You don't know which way you're going, left or right, forwards or backwards. But when you have that goal in mind, whatever comes your way, you deal with it. You overcome the hurdle, and you're back on your path. And that is what helped me through, I think, through my academics. But I'm sure we'll touch on that later. But yes, yeah.
Definitely, absolutely. You got it spot on right there. Your goal gives you a tunnel vision that allows you to focus on your target and not be distracted from the outside. So spot on that. You know, just to move on to a few questions that our viewers have for you. Yeah, very, very interesting questions. So I'll start off with the first one from Pilo Njaloza. He says, what is your funniest moment on the cricketing field?
My funniest moment on the cricketing field was my second. Yeah, I don't know if I can say this. Okay, it was actually, I think it was my second game, first class game, and I was 18 at the time. I was in Durban, and I was still like immature and a juvenile, and I had I just finished bowling an over, and we just came back from lunch. So I finished bowling over, and then I needed to use the toilet. I needed to wee. So as the guy during deliveries, I ran up to the advertising board at Kingsmead, and I peed on the advertising board. This was my second game, mind you. I peed on the advertising board, and mid delivery, the umpires shouted and stopped the game. And I didn't know what to do. I got reprimanded and called into a DC hearing for that. So that's my personal funniest moment. But Umpilo knows there's a couple of other moments I can mention, but I don't think it's PG-13. But yeah, like we all know, what happens on the cricket field is yeah, should stay on the cricket field. But for me, that was my funniest moment. Not my proudest moment, but it's something I'll never forget.
Absolutely. I mean, that's really hilarious in a lot of ways. You know, moving on to the second question. It's two questions actually. It's from Ilona. She says, who makes the best cup of tea? As the first question, and who is your three best closest friends?
Okay, let's start with. Can I plead the fifth? Who makes makes the best cup of tea? What is the safest answer? No, I will say this: Emilia and Ilona and Karina, they've all three of them have made cups of tea for me, and they are also my three best friends right now. I don't have many friends. COVID doesn't have give you friends, so I would say they've taught me to make the best cup of tea. The three of them combined. So that essentially leaves to myself. I make the best cup of tea.
Absolutely. I think that's the best and the safest answer you could have given. Okay, now moving on to, Emilia, she asked me a question. She says, who is your biggest supporter? Who would you say is your number one supporter who's always been there for you, and the first person that comes to your mind when you think about support?
It's too difficult, man. My family. I can't single out anyone. My family is my biggest supporter, because it's from my cousins to my mother to my aunt to my uncles to whoever it is. I've got an amazing support structure in my family, and there isn't a single person that I would say supports me the best, if that makes sense, because I feel I will do an injustice if I mention just one person,
No.
because each one has shown me love and support in their own special way for every little aspect in my life, whether it was sport, academics, whether I've been through good times, bad times. And that's why I can't single out one specific person. So I would say my family, and that is my core, my structure.
No, absolutely. I think that's an amazing answer. Our family is always a structure. It's not only one person, but the whole family that really supports us in every little way, which actually combines into one big, massive support that we really need to pursue our goals and our dreams. Just to ask, I'll say the last question is from Emilia as well. She says, what would you advise a sports person that had an injury or is still recovering from it?
Wow. Okay, so here's a backstory. Well, we've got 6 minutes. I don't think we have enough time. So I got injured at the Dolphins when I was just 19. I had my first knee injury. Long story short, I then injured my knee again in 2019. And I injured my knee again, the same knee, in April this year. So I've come back now from 2 ops. I'm on my way back from the 3rd op now. So from my personal experience, listen to your bio. Listen to your professionals around you. That's one aspect. The next aspect is never give up. From my perspective, I mean, I don't know. I don't think. I think a lot of people think I'm crazy for still wanting to try and play, but never give up, because your mind will do and tell you funny things. It'll tell you you can't. And I don't believe in that. I believe that I'm always going to give myself the best chance, no matter what. And I've proved it to myself on more than one occasion. So I'm not going to doubt my ability. Okay, we do get old and our bodies get older. The fitness is not as good, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to still get through your injuries. So don't let doubt creep in. That's the main thing. Remain patient, remain motivated, always keep, like I said earlier, keep that goal in mind.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to be stronger and a better player when you get out of that injury. And always remember that injuries are part of the game of cricket or whichever sport you are playing. So it's part of the game. It's going to happen. You can always get yourself into a situation, but it's how you get yourself out of the situation that will determine what type of person you are, what kind of character you are. And when you play cricket, and my fellow fast bowlers that are watching will know, you are hurt more than you are having a good day when you are bowling. You know, your toe is paining, or you've got a niggle, or your back is stiff. So you need a strong character to be. I'm speaking from a fast bowler's perspective. You generally need a strong character, and that's exactly the approach I take into my recovery as well. So I'm determined. My bio will tell you that I'm a pest, because I'll be on it. I want to get better. I want to get better. So I forget about the negatives and I only flood positive. You know, that is what is important when you are trying to come back from an injury, because those doubts creep in all the time. But don't let it overcome you, because at the end of the day, when everything works out, those doubts are forgotten, and all you have is those positives and your work that is now showing in the way you are playing, training, or whatever you've come back from, you know, or you're doing.
No, absolutely. No, that's an amazing answer. And I don't think anyone can say it much better than you say. Don't give up and keep motivated. And I mean, as we about to close our session today, I'll be moving on to the last bits of it. You're a law student now, a final year law student,
Yeah.
which is something really exciting and really interesting. So I'll tie in the last question we got asked by our viewers. With the last phase as well of our discussion today. How was the transition, would you say, you know, from being a sportsman, playing sports full time, into actually going into the classroom and pursuing a degree like a law degree, which requires, you know, a lot of time and a lot of studying and a lot of reading. And just to tie in the last question as well, from Godo Mamio, he says, is it true that you're an A student?
To Godwill's answer, yes, I am an A student. It is true. But to your question, the biggest motivation was my kids. At the time when I made the decision, I had one daughter. I've got two daughters now. I was in England at the time when I made the decision. It was my final stint in England, and I had to ask myself difficult questions, you know. Are you going to pursue a career that is short-lived? And what's the most you can get out of it? I was 25 at the time. And that I planted that seed, and for about 2 weeks I just thought about it, and the answer came to me that I won't be able to sustain a family unless I play for South Africa, you know. And at 25 years old, I wasn't going to break into the South African side. And that's when I picked up the phone. I called Nick Cock, and I decided that I'm going to study. It's a massive adjustment, because from going a full-time sportsman, all of the guys watching and yourself, you'll know it's amazing being a sportsman. You know, as much as it requires discipline and dedication, etc. But I mean, the perks for being a sportsman is amazing. Playing cricket for a living, your office is a field, you outdoors, you're enjoying yourself, and suddenly you make the transition into a classroom, reading, and going for a law degree, which I chose. I love to argue, so I thought, okay, what's the best thing? Okay, I love to argue. I'm a rebel. Let's put it together. Okay, law. I think law works out well. But then I made the transition, but my kids, they were that tunnel vision, that light at the end of the tunnel for me, was providing a life for them, you know, because you take a responsibility as a dad. You have to take the responsibility as a dad. And I knew it was going to be difficult, because I wasn't going to be earning any money, or, you know, things were going to be tough. But block out the noise and reach the goal. And this year, 2 weeks ago, when I secured my articles, I was chatting to my uncle, and I said, and my cousin, I said, you know, when you make such life-changing decisions, you ask yourself midway through these things, and you ask yourself, wow, have I actually made the right choice here? You know, because suddenly it doesn't look like you're going anywhere. It's like a middle phase of a one-day game. You know, that period between over 25 and over 35, where the spinners are just operating and you don't know whether you're going or coming or what's happening. And at that point, I asked myself and I said, whoa, did I make the right decision? What am I doing here? And 2 weeks ago, when I secured my articles and the results, I mean, getting onto the dean's list, 2 years running, just, making the most of my studies, all of those questions and doubts just went, and they just got put to rest. Exactly the way I said about injuries, when those doubts creep in, once you achieve what you have set your mind to, it just goes boom. So you can transition from anything. Your biggest limit is is your mind, and I don't believe that I can't achieve something if I don't put my mind to it, and as much as crazy as it sounds, it's motivating, and that's what my drive is, so I found my drive, and my drive was to provide a good life for my kids, and that was my drive. And that is why I'm able to say today that the transition I made and the decision I made, I don't regret.
And absolutely, you touched on very important aspects there. And to all the dads listening out there, there will come a time when you need to step up and take up responsibility. And Chad is the perfect example of the type of dads that we need out there, especially nowadays. Chad, 30 minutes goes by very quickly.
Are we done?
It's been
Can we go on? I'm joking. I'm joking.
I wish we could go on and chat for longer. It has been one of the most amazing 30 minutes I've been involved in.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Absolutely, especially chatting to a person of your caliber, learning so much about what you speak about and learning so much about the power of a mindset, the power of the mind and goal setting. And I hope all the viewers out there, all the little kids, the young sportsmen out there that are aspiring to be like you, were listening today, and they would take those words and use them. Chad, any last words that you'd like to give to our viewers out there before we close off today's session?
No, not much. Just thanks for tuning in, guys, man. And I missed all of you guys that I haven't seen in a while. Anyway, thanks for having me. That's all.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining today's session with Chad Fortune. Please sanitize, please stick to the COVID-19 regulations, and join us again next week on Thursday, 7:30 sharp at Africa Sports Consultancy. Thank you and cheers.
Peace, brother.